from Cowork 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Art Center Podcast Network, and this is the Jesup News. I'm Jim Gillespie with producer Blake Tempus. The Steve Brown Art Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. It will be offering community programming starting in Jesup, Iowa, before expanding to neighboring communities. Programming will include a community speaker series that will showcase existing creatives who reside within the community, as well as pop-up series that will spotlight and partner with local businesses to provide opportunities for community engagement. First, in city news, the city is very close to ordering the first phase of the splash pad equipment. They have raised 75% of the money needed for that phase. For more information, contact Erica Havlik at Erica, ERIKA.HAVLIK gmail.com. The city has submitted the neighborhood revitalization grant application that we spoke about last week here on air. Coley has told me to also thank Morgan, who did many of the interviews for those registrations for that grant application. Don't forget tomorrow to vote. Tomorrow, Tuesday, November 8th. If you're not sure your precinct, contact the county recorder if you don't know where you vote. Library calendar. Don't forget the Jesup Winter Festival is December 3rd. That's December 3rd from 3 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Little Tot Story Time meets every Thursday at 10:30 a.m., joined for songs, stories, and more. The Book Club, The Bookwoman of Troublesome Creek by Kim Michelle Richardson, is Monday, November 21st at 1 p.m. Books are available now to pick up in the library. Movie Monday, join us Monday, November 28th for the Crawdads Sing at 1 p.m. Popcorn and water bottles are provided. The movie is 2 hours and 5 minutes and is rated PG-13. The Spice Club continues. Each month we will feature a new spice to pick up in a take-home kit that includes the spice information on its history and uses it and recipes to try. November is cumin, open to cooking enthusiasts of all ages. I hope I said that right. Supplies are limited on first come, first served basis, so get yours today. Fall basket raffle. The Friends of the Library is selling raffle tickets for the fall basket worth over $200. The tickets are $1 each or 6 for $5. Contact the library to buy yours. Drawing will be held November 23rd. Remember, there's a media sale going on as well. Books for all ages, DVDs, puzzles, games, and more have been donated and are available for a free will donation to the Friends of the Library. Check us out. The JPL is not just for books. We also have magazines, newspapers, cake pans, puzzles, games, STEM activity bags, cookie cutters, DVDs, soap, making kits, and more that can be checked out. Come see all that we have to offer at the Jesup Public Library. Gift ideas, calling all coffee lovers. Drinking coffee can help support the Jesup Public Library. We have teamed with the Velvet Coffee Company to offer you a special bookworm blend in ground or whole bean varieties in individual packets or in a 12-ounce bag. A portion of every purchase benefits the Jesup Public Library. You can also purchase it and other blends online at velvetcoffeeco.com. Don't forget to stay hydrated. A 30-ounce Polar Camel water bottle with the Jesup Public Library logo is available for purchase online. Scan the QR code at the library and to order yours today. New books in our library. These new books are waiting for you. C.J. Box's Treasure State, John Grisham's The Boys of Blocks, Bill O'Reilly's Killing the Legends, and James Patterson's Triple Cross are just a few of the new titles we have at the Jesup Public Library. Friends of the Library. Friends of the Jesup Public Library is welcoming new members. The nonprofit support organization improves the services and resources of the library, promotes citizens' involvement in the community, and hosts fundraising events to offer programs and resources for all ages. Membership forms are available at the library. Endowment Fund. The JPL Endowment Fund was established as a gift to the library to ensure the longevity of materials and resources for the community. We are expanding and growing this fund to positively impact current and future patrons of the library. Significant incentives are provided for contributions to the fund, which are deductible to the maximum extent permissible under the current law. A financial advisor or attorney can help you make the best decision for your funds to benefit the Jesup Public Library. Library donations, it's easy to make a donation to the JPL. Cash gifts give immediate support to the library. Bequests provide future support for the library, and memorial gifts serve as a special tribute for a loved one. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're coming to you from the 591 Co-work Studios. School news. On Tuesday, November 15th, the senior students will be practicing the game of life at Jesup High School. Last week's guest, Zach Knudsen, has set that up, and that event has been going on a number of years. It's to prepare senior students for life after high school. Rec program announcements. 5th grade boys basketball team started their season off with a second place finish in Hiawatha. The rest of our teams get started this week. We have 53 girls playing in 3rd grade through 6th grade this season, and 48 boys. Archery will also be starting soon as well. There are 103 kids in grades 4 through 12 participating. Athletically, coming off a state cross country this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, Mackenzie Wilson placed 4th at the state meet. The second year in a row she finished in the top 10 in state cross country. High school girls basketball starts this week, and high school boys basketball and wrestling will begin next week. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Obituaries from White's Funeral Home here in Jesup. Paul J. Hamilton, 85 years old, of Independence, died Thursday, October 27th, 2022 at the Buchanan County Health Care Center in Independence. Graveside memorial services will be 10:30 a.m. Tuesday. They were November 1st, at Barclay Cemetery in rural Jesup. Military rites were conducted by the Bechter Boys VFW Post 2440 from Independence and assisted by the United States Air Force. Paul James Hamilton was born June 9, 1937 in Winthrop, Iowa, the son of Raymond Cowan Hamilton and Lucille A. McGraw Hamilton. He graduated from St. John Catholic High School with a class of 1955. While in high school, he worked at the grocery store, Conklin Decorating, and Hotel Pinnakin as a bellhop. Following graduation, he joined the Army Air Corps and served his country around the world. After his honorable discharge, Paul moved to Waterloo, Iowa, and worked at John Deere as a machinist for 30 years. He retired in 1990 and later moved to Independence. He enjoyed socializing and spending time outside, especially by the river. He was a member of the Bechter Boys VFW Post 2440 in Independence. Paul is survived by his brother Tom Hamilton of Independence, his stepbrother James Fox of Waterloo, his sister-in-law Cheryl Schaefer of Jesup, and many nieces, nephews, and cousins. He was preceded in death by his parents, his stepfather Weldon Fox, one brother Patrick Hamilton, 2 sisters Mary Lincolnmeyer, Jane Phillips, and his special friend Audrey Frost. Another obituary is Louise M. Kolb, 88 years old, of Jesup, died peacefully of natural causes Wednesday, October 26, 2022 at her home in Winding Creek Meadows Assisted Living in Jesup. Funeral services will be at 10:30 a.m. Wednesday, November 2nd. They were the 2nd of November, at the Zion Lutheran Church, Jubilee in rural LaPorte. Burial was at the Zion Lutheran Jubilee Cemetery. Louise Mary Wright was born October 5, 1934 in rural Buchanan County, Iowa, the daughter of Ralph Emery Wright and May Hilton Wright. She graduated from Brandon High School with a class in 1952. For a short time before she was married, she worked as a telephone operator in Independence, Iowa. On January 25, 1953, she was united in marriage to Floyd John Kolb at Zion Lutheran Church, Jubilee. They made their home on Floyd's family farm south of Jesup, where she farmed alongside her husband and raised their family. He preceded her in death in 2003. Louise was a member of the Zion Lutheran Church, Jubilee. She enjoyed traveling, shopping, bird watching, gardening, and collecting cookbooks. She was a wonderful caretaker and always put others before herself. Louise is survived by one son, Andy Kolb, one daughter, Julie Krause, all of Jesup, Iowa, 5 grandchildren, Kevin, Dean, Scott, Jonathan, Dalton, and special friend Haley Sparks. 2 great-grandchildren, Dylan Krause, Drew Krause, and 3 step-grandchildren, Elizabeth Armstrong, Elliot Armstrong, and Josh Armstrong. She was preceded in death by her parents, her husband Floyd Kolb, and one sister, Nerm Steinbrook. Memorials will be directed at the church and Cedar Valley Hospice. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're live from Cowork 591 Studios. Before we have our special guest, Fritz Kies, on today, we want to talk a little bit about Veterans Day. When first celebrated as Armistice Day, the day marked at the end of World War I, formally recognized on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918. Today we continue to celebrate the day as Veterans Day, still recognizing the original time with November 11th. This means Veteran Day is on the same day every year, November 11th, regardless of on which day of the week it falls. When the date falls on Saturday or Sunday, government officials or businesses may recognize it on both the official day and the following Monday. Veterans Day is a federal holiday, a bank holiday, and in most states a state holiday. That means the federal employees, including military members, are typically given the day off, and in most cases, state workers are as well. Whether or not Veterans Day is taken as a work holiday by companies is a business decision. Many companies choose to take off either Veterans Day or Columbus Day, which falls in October, but not both. Many schools do close on Veterans Day, but whether they do is typically not a one-size-fits-all for schools. It's totally up to the local school district. It could seem like just a silly grammar choice, but it's not. The Department of Veterans Affairs notes that Veterans Day is a day for recognizing the veterans with us right now. Veterans Day, with an apostrophe, would instead be a day that belongs to veterans. In the late 1960s, Congress passed a law intended to stimulate the economy by adding more 3-day weekends. They thought it would help encourage travel and other recreation. The Uniform Monday Holiday Act made Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, Columbus Day, and Veterans Day all Mondays. But many states disagree with the choice, especially since Veterans Day was designated as November 11th, the 11th month, the 11th day, and 11th hour for historic reasons. Today we know the day is Veterans Day, but until 1954 it was known as the Armistice Day, officially recognizing Armistice Agreement that ended World War I on November 11th, 1918. Even though World War I was hopefully termed the war to end all wars, it was anything but. By 1954, Americans had served both World War II and the Korean War. Armistice Day was changed to Veterans Day on June 1st, 1954. Veterans Day comes just one day after the Marine Corps birthday on November 10th. Typically celebrated with a ball and cake cutting ceremony, Marines traditionally are given a 96-hour liberty to mark both holidays together and recover from their service birthday festivities. When the war to end all wars failed to do so, a group of Americans led by Francis Carr Stifler of the American Bible Society proposed Armistice Day be replaced with Mayflower Day. That group, arguing the signing of the Mayflower Compact, took place November 11, 1620, and it was more appropriate to honor since the Mayflower Compact was the cornerstone upon which the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights stood. The idea gained little traction. Much of the information I just gave you was from military.com, and we here at the Steve Brown Arts Center want to thank all veterans for their service to our community. From Cowork 591 Studios. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. And we're here today with Fritz Kies. We're continuing the tradition of interviewing givers to the community. And on this week of Veterans Day, we wanted to have Fritz in and talk to him not only about Veterans Day and the veterans of our community, but his service to our country and to our community as well. So welcome, Fritz.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
Tell us a little about your family first, Fritz, and growing up in Jesup.
Well, I grew up here on a farm just 2.5 miles east on what is now, well, it used to be Old Highway 20. And my father was a farmer, and I had a large family, 7 brothers and 3 sisters. And, well, there was 4th, but she died as an infant, so we had a large family. And I grew up here and graduated from Jesup in 1979.
Years go by, don't they, Fritz?
Quicker than you think.
Yeah. Fritz, where do you think you got your commitment to serve people? You've served a lot in your life. Where did you get that commitment?
Oh, I would say, well, I went to St. Athanasius for 5 years before going to the public school, and they kind of instill that in you. And my father was in the military. My oldest brother was in the military. He retired from it as well. And so kind of looking up to them, also wanting to serve the country.
You're very active in Jesup, Fritz. What are some things that you do in Jesup? I know you're active in the VFW.
The American Legion.
Excuse me, the American Legion. Where else are you involved, Fritz?
Well, I'm also actually involved with the VFW out of Independence. So I'm in both organizations. But the American Legion here in Jesup keeps me primarily busy. I'm the adjutant, or basically the secretary, and I do a lot of the paperwork. We are responsible for putting up flags during national holidays along 6th Street. We're happy to do that to show the patriotism. And we also have a flag retirement ceremony with the local Boy Scout troop. We have that every year on June 14th, which is Flag Day. So they come in and we give a proper retirement. We like to call it a retirement for the flag. Sometimes people think flag burning is a symbol of protest. So we like to retire the flags properly.
Appropriate way.
And we rent the hall, so I take care of that for people, for the public and private events that people want to rent the hall. And I'm also actively involved with the district and the state level for the American Legion. So that keeps me quite busy. I'm also a member of the Lions Club, whose motto is "We Serve." So part of that is we have fundraisers and we help the local community through our fundraisers. We just installed a chairlift for someone in the city of Jesup. We were happy to get that was donated to us, and we found a home quickly for it, for a needy individual, and so it went to a good home. We also have medical equipment that we loan out at no charge to people that need it on a temporary basis, such as hospital beds, wheelchairs, scooters, knee scooters for people that have surgery on their foot and needs to still get around. So that's part of the service that we do to the community.
All right. What was your involvement in the military, Fritz, throughout your life? How long were you involved with your rank and things like that?
Well, I started out right out of high school. I went to Iowa State University in the Navy ROTC program, and I was there for 4 years. I received my degree, and then I was commissioned as an ensign in the Navy. From there, I went to flight school in Pensacola, and I was trained as a backseater or navigator. And I went to the S3, which is a carrier-based sub-hunter, and I was stationed in San Diego, California for several years and made 2 deployments overseas on the USS Kitty Hawk, and later went on the Nimitz for all the workup and training periods we did. My job was to look for submarines, do long-range reconnaissance, among other missions based off the aircraft carrier. And then I followed that up with a tour as a ROTC instructor at the University of Illinois in Champaign. And from there, I left active duty, completed my graduate work, and then went on into the reserves, where I supported air operations for several years. And then the last 6 years in the Navy reserves, I was in disaster response. So when there was a need for military assistance for a disaster, then I was the liaison between FEMA, state agencies and local agencies for military assistance if they requested it. And my last thing that I did on active duty, being called in as a reservist, was Hurricane Sandy out on the East Coast, because they were using Navy personnel, divers, and equipment and ships for assistance in the disaster along the East Coast. So I was a liaison between the agencies.
Okay.
So I spent a total of 8 years active duty and 22 years in the reserves. And I retired as a Navy captain.
I can remember talking to you about some of your planning that you went through. We had a great conversation about the possibility of a disaster in the Midwest, and perhaps another day we'll talk in detail about that. How many people are involved locally here in association that you're involved with, Fritz?
Well, the American Legion, we have approximately 75 local Legionnaire members. In fact, this Friday is Veterans Day. I'd like to give a shout out and thank you to all veterans who have served the country in uniform. And we're having a private dinner, invite only, for members and their guests on Friday night at the Legion Hall. And it's an annual event. We've had it every year for a number of years, except the last 2 years, due to COVID, we were unable to have it. And at that time, what we do is we recognize all of our veterans serving, as well as those that have went to what we call post-everlasting, those that have passed. And so the last time we had our Veterans Dinner was 2019. So we have 3 years' worth of our local veterans, our Legionnaires, who have passed, and we like to recognize those in a ceremony and service that night after the dinner is complete.
So you have 75. Are those active members? Or?
No, not all of our members are active. Some actually don't even live in the state, have a connection here to the Jesup post, such as my brother. He lives in Utah. My uncle lives down in the Quad Cities, but they're members of our Legion post. And some members are too busy. They're still, some of the younger members have spouses, kids, jobs, other activities, so they're not able to commit as much time as someone like me who's retired. We have a Legion Honor Guard that provides military rights for veterans at their funerals, and we have anywhere from 8 to 15 Legion Honor Guard members that show up for the funerals, as well as Farmers Day Parade, carrying the colors, and on Memorial Day is one of our other big ceremonies where we go around to 8 of the local cemeteries and do observances for Memorial Day. The big difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day is a day that we recognize all members in uniform, where Memorial Day is a day that we recognize and pay tribute to those who served their country and lost their lives during the service.
Before I forget, Cowork 591 Studios is having a free coffee serving by Cowork 591 Studios for veterans. It's Friday, November 11th from 8 till 9 o'clock. Stop down if you like.
I plan on it. I received the invitation in the mail. Thank you very much.
That's wonderful. Kelly and Tony do such a nice job here.
Thank you to them.
Yeah. What is the thing that keeps you active? You know, what is your driving force, do you think, Fritz?
Oh, staying busy. You know, no one wants to be idle. And I had a instructor once that said, if you're coasting, you're going downhill. So I prefer to not coast and keep busy, you know, serving the community where I grew up in, as well as I like to stay active, among other things. So I do throw a little bit of golf in my free time when weather permits. So, but yeah, my uncle, who is 92 years old, he always stays active, and so that's kind of my goal. He plays golf at 92. He walked 18 holes 3 times a week until he was 80. So staying active is a way of staying healthy.
Great advice, Fritz. We had Zach Knudsen in last week, and I asked him this question. I'll ask you. What's been your best 18 holes of golf ever, Fritz? It doesn't have to be at Jesup, just best ever.
I think I was 6 under.
6 under.
When I was out in Arizona playing with my uncle several years ago.
Ah, wonderful. Wonderful. And then what do you use off the tee on one? I asked Knutson that same thing.
Depends on the wind. Usually I'll hit my 3 or 5 wood to keep it in the middle. But if I get aggressive, then I'll bring out the big dog and start barking with the driver.
We are real fortunate to be here today with Fritz Kies and talking about service, talking about Veterans Day. Fritz, what is perhaps your greatest memory in the military?
Well, I have both good and bad, some scary moments, as well as the camaraderie you keep with your squadron buddies from active duty. We still maintain a close relationship. We have a text chain that one guy will send out a text and everyone kind of responds. There's still a little bit of rivalry going on, even though it was 30-some years ago that we were all together. We still maintain that bond. Some great moments. Like I said, I flew off the aircraft carrier flying. That was always an exciting time, but it was also apprehensive time sometimes, landing on the back of a carrier when you're the guy riding along and watching what the pilot does to make sure that we land safely. That could be a little exciting, as well as some potential emergencies that we had, losing an engine, one of two. So it always gives you a challenge and keeps you on your toes.
Did you fly with the same pilot the entire time that you were involved?
No, I usually flew with a different pilot. There were my particular plane. We had a crew of 4, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. I was qualified as the right front as a co-pilot, not the actual pilot that's themselves. And then I flew in the back and ran the computer systems and was the mission commander later on. So we would fly with different crews depending on the mission that we were doing. Mm-hmm. So you always flew with different guys. Not all were created equal in terms of their ability. They wouldn't have been winged, made a pilot if they didn't meet the minimum standards, and which are high standards to attain to begin with. But you became more comfortable with some pilots than others. And so that always produced its interesting days of flying, so to speak.
First, I'm going to ask you a tough question here. I don't know if you know this or not. How many people from Jesup have perished during times of action?
Actually, that's a good question. During our veterans dinner this coming Friday, I've been doing a little research on that, and I don't think we had anyone from the Jesup area during the Civil War, but during World War II, we did have 2 individuals that I know were perished, were Reinhard Pump and Bird Shear, and that's what the local American Legion post is named after, Pump Shear Post 342. Reinhard Pump was killed in action in the Meuse-Argonne forest during World War I, and Bird Shear, I believe, died of influenza in 1918 during World War I. And I do have a list of those died in action during World War II, and I think it's around 13 to 16 that from the local area that died during World War II. I don't believe anyone was from Korea from my historical records, but we did have a couple individuals from the local area that were also killed during Vietnam. And I believe one was a Fetkether and one was a Shares. But I'm still investigating that before we get to this Friday for Veterans Day.
Right. It always amazes me as I go to the cemeteries to see the amount of veterans from our area in the local cemeteries. It's an incredible amount with the flags, the stars, etc. on their grave sites.
Yeah, that's one of the things we do before Memorial Day weekend, is we put a flag on all the veterans markers out at the cemeteries. And there are a lot out there, a testament to those who served. You have fewer and fewer members that are serving in the military now. It's not as big. It's an all-volunteer force. But in World War II, it was a large percentage. There were over 16 million veterans active during World War II, and our population of the country was, I believe, around 160 or 180 million, so nearly 10% were actually serving on active duty. So the percentage of the population back then was a lot higher of people who served and became veterans, unlike now, we're an all-volunteer force. So that's why we're still looking for a few good men and women to join our veterans organizations, such as the American Legion here in Jesup, to keep that tradition and value going strong and doing the services that we do currently so that those don't fade away when we start losing our members.
How many how many women are active in your group?
We have 2 that I can think of right offhand, 2 out of 75. So we're always looking for more. I'll put out a plug here. So anyone listening to this, if you're a veteran, we pay your dues as a member for the first year. It costs you nothing to join, and you can be as active as much as you want or as little as you want. So if you want to help us do the honor guard, you're welcome to do that. You can just attend our meetings. We meet the second Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m. at the hall, and we discuss the things that are coming up that we need to do. And like I said, the other things we do, we sponsor the 5th grade flag essay contest, teaching the young kids the proper flag etiquette and respect for the flag, as well as other things like you talked about, putting the flags up on the national holidays and especially on Memorial Day, going around to all the cemeteries and putting flags on the veterans markers.
All right. Well, Fritz, is there anything else you want us to know about your group and what you got going for Memorial Day? For Veterans Day, what you have?
Well, the school always, every year, has been having their Veterans Day ceremonies, and we're happy to be part of that, bringing in the colors at the start of that every year. So that'll take place on Friday morning, I believe at 10 a.m., and all veterans are welcome to attend that service at the gym. Then I said we'll be busy with the Veterans Dinner that night.
You've got a busy day ahead of you, Mr. Kies.
That's all right. Glad to, like I said, it's good to be busy than bored.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. Perhaps someday we'll interview you for an hour here.
All right. Thank you, Jim. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Look forward to it next time.
Thank you. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're live from Cowork 591 Studios. Last week I told you about my father, and I'd like to continue the story about him a little bit this week and his friend, a man by the name of Cotton Whitefeather. The first time I ever heard that name mentioned, I was about 8 years old. Cotton Whitefeather was a friend from my dad's rodeo days. Dad called him one of the best bullback riders he ever saw. Dad said that if by chance the bull did throw a white feather, he would land as soft as cotton, thus the nickname Cotton Whitefeather. I would listen tirelessly to the stories of the travels from Maine to Arizona. Dad would always stop his stories when one of my friends or I would ask him to tell us the story about how he broke both his arms. That was the end of the rodeo for Dad and the last night that Dad ever saw Cotton. Dad passed away in 1979, and with his death came the end of the Cotton Whitefeather stories. Fast forward to 2009. Every so often, I would do an internet search for Cotton Whitefeather, but all I knew was his last name and not his first. And you would be surprised how many white feathers there are in our country. In 2009, I was spending a lot of time in Austin, Texas, and during the day as my friend there worked, I had a lot of free time to do things in Austin. I happened to be looking through the massive phone book of Austin and the surrounding area. To my surprise, there was one Whitefeather, William Joseph Whitefeather. For some reason, that name jumped out at me, and then I remembered Dad saying that Cotton's real name was Billy Joe. After all the years, I figured Whitefeather was dead, but I thought what the heck, I would call and see if it was him. I called the number and I asked if I was speaking to Cotton. There was a long silence, and he responded he had not been called Cotton for 30 years. I told him I was Bob Gillespie's son, and he said he was leaving on a trip, but he would like to meet me at a place called the Chili Parlor. That would be my first of many trips to my beloved Chili Parlor, not far from the state capital of Texas. I showed up early because early on I would get lost in Austin, but the Chili Parlor was easy to find. It was about noon when I saw a man walk through the door, a Native American, about 5'8", 110 pounds. He was bow-legged of a man as I'd ever seen, and he was wearing cowboy boots with a black suit, drawstring western tie. He was carrying a fold-over suitcase, and he had on a cowboy hat that had to be 40 years old. Around it, he had a tie-dye bandana and looked strangely out of place on that hat, and tucked in that bandana was a white feather. I walked toward him and reached out my hand. It was truly the great cotton white feather. We sat down at a booth that I had picked out and started telling many stories about my dad and their years on the road together. He told me how my dad had snuck him into the hotel room many times in the West, when many times in Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, hotels would not rent him a room because he was an Indian. He told me the story of the cowboy hat he was wearing and how it was my dad's. He had picked up the night that Dad had broken both his arms. No one knew that night what hospital they had taken my dad to, and Cotton had to hurry to the next rodeo and figured they would meet again down the road. I had to ask about the tie-dye bandana. Cotton told me of a lady he had met in the 60s and how he had given the bandana, or how she had given the bandana to him in a coffee shop in Albuquerque. He never did see that woman again either. The white feather was given to him by an uncle who had been killed during World War II. Cotton told me he was on his way to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, 60 miles from where my dad was buried. Cotton was fighting cancer. As Billy Joe walked out of the Chili Parlor, coming out of the jukebox was an old bluegrass song. There is a time, and it still brings tears to my eyes. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we are coming to you live from Cowork 591 Studios. We have a few thank yous to send out. Thanks to Brock Sabers and the Jesup Rec Department for co-sponsoring John Loeb last week. Thanks to Zach Knudsen for joining us last week. Thanks to Coley Mead for joining us last week. I want to thank Kara Masteller, our main advisor, as we developed the Steve Brown Arts Center. We want to thank Tony Lang, who's got us going on Spotify. Hopefully many of you are listening on Spotify. It's also on Apple as well. You can watch it on video on Spotify, or you can just listen to audio on Apple. The John Decker Art Show was this past weekend at the Moloch Theater. It was in conjunction with the Independence Holiday Kickoff and the Indie Chamber, Laces, Moloch Theater, Elm Tree, and the Steve Brown Arts Center worked in conjunction to show John Decker's art at the historic Moloch Theater. Also recently on public television, there was a short blurb on Moloch Theater. If you get a chance to see that, you look it up on the internet. Don't forget, December 3rd, the John Decker Art Show at Cowork 591 Studios in conjunction with the Winter Festival here in Jesup, in conjunction with Cowork 591 and the Steve Brown Arts Center.
I'm Carter Rout, and there's four of us here. We got Mr. Tanner Ginn, Kirsten Truax, and Savvy Bain here, who are all a part of the musical Music Man, which shows, is it the 11th and 12th?
It's the 11th and 12th.
7 p.m.
7 p.m., $5 admission.
Activity passes do count.
That's right. Can you buy tickets in advance?
No, it's all at the door.
All at the door. So get your tickets fast, because it's going to fill up.
Preferably cash.
Preferably cash.
How else would you pay?
You can pay with check.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, with the school.
But not card.
No card?
No
card.
cards.
We don't have that accessibility.
Okay. You should start a Venmo.
Oh, that's actually a really good idea. We might have to do that, because a lot of people use Venmo.
Don't plan on it.
I don't think it's that hard.
Yo, Savvy, I heard you got some questions for us.
I do have some questions. So,
Good segue.
first of all, I think we should briefly describe the plot of The Music Man without giving anything away.
Well, you're the main character. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, so my character, Harold Hill, is a well-known shyster around the U.S. He likes to go to different cities and I guess he just likes to try and sell people band instruments. He likes to say, I'm going to start a boys band in this city, and he takes their money and runs. This has happened all over all these different states, and salesmen are really tired of it, this legend of Harold Hill. And they're like, well, he's not coming to Iowa. Well, he's coming to Iowa. He's coming to River City. And boy, did they have trouble. And, he goes into this city and he says, hey, you guys
got trouble.
You got trouble because this pool table you guys are putting in, they're going to have a pool table.
They said not to spoil the plot. You're giving away a lot of it right now.
Talk through the
Not
whole
really.
script.
I'm just going to talk through the first
Can we just
bit
pull
of
out the
it.
book real quick and we'll
Yeah,
just talk through
right.
everything?
Read through
Page
the whole
1
script.
through 112, and that's the synopsis.
I'm just going up until you got trouble.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, continue.
Anyway.
So sorry.
That's like a Jim from The Office moment. No, he goes up to these people and he's like, his friend Marcellus is there, and he's like, hey, what can I use around here that might stir up some trouble? So that
You're
way,
really focusing on the pool table here, aren't you?
that's
Savvy, what's your character?
My character is Marion Peru, and she is the town librarian and the music teacher. And so Harold tries to seduce her.
Do I succeed, though, is the question. You'll have to find out.
You'll have to come to it.
Friday and Saturday, November 11th and 12th at 7 p.m. Be there. $5.
My next question is, I did not originally plan on you being here, but I said, we've all been in plenty of JHS shows by now, and what has been your favorite memory from theater?
My favorite memory. Back when we did Beauty and the Beast, I was LeFou, and that's Gaston's sidekick. And there's this part where we go up on a table, and we go off the table later. But me and Mr. Gavin Nolan, we decided we would, who played Gaston, Gavin Nolan, we decided we were gonna improvise a little bit, and instead of just walking off the table, he got off the table, and I jumped onto his back, and we walked off stage, and by golly, what a great little segue into the next scene. But that's my favorite memory.
Oh, just one's hard. So this is my third year here, which makes me feel really old. I honestly, my favorite memories are just doing rehearsals and honestly getting to know the kids more and more. You get to learn so much during school, but during school, a lot of the kids are like, ugh, I'm done for the day. I'm not doing it. And then musical, you see a lot of new personalities, who they actually are when they're enjoying themselves. So I think just the overall growth for me, I did love every show they've done. Frozen's not my favorite in general, but I loved when you guys did it.
I loved
It was fun.
Frozen.
Frozen was fun. We had a lot of fun. We took a lot of liberties on the second night, that's for sure.
That's his least favorite part.
That was my favorite
The best
memory.
part.
The
best part.
cartwheel off stage was what got me the most, but
Could have done without it, but it's okay.
I loved the cartwheel. I don't know what you're talking about.
see, this is the student perspective and the
jump.
director's
The
perspective.
jump was my favorite part.
The jump, yeah, I'm sure it was. But no, I've had a good time doing all of it. So I don't know if I have a specific favorite. I'm really enjoying this one. You're seeing a lot of growth from a lot of kids. We have a lot of younger kids this year.
A lot of middle
We have
schoolers.
8 middle school students, 5th grade through 12th. We have 8 middle school, so it's great to have the younger involvement too.
They're doing good.
They really are.
So
Really,
well.
they're going well.
So, this
You're
is
looking at me. That scares me.
oh, this is my first official JHS production.
Yeah, you helped a little bit.
I
at the
helped
end
a
of last
little,
year.
yeah, but just needed to get my bearings a little bit last year.
I got thrown to the fire first year.
Yeah, but that's your job, so just go with it. It's fine, Tanner. My favorite part is probably seeing all the little kids get really excited. Our young Mr. Winthrop, Adrian Casillas, is
I
doing a
love
great
him.
job.
He's doing
I love
awesome.
him.
He's doing a
And
great
he's
job.
hilarious.
Memorize his
He's got
lines.
all. You know what? He beat all of you for having his lines down.
Oh, he sure did.
He has every single one.
First practice, he was in.
His
He had
songs,
his stuff
his
memorized.
lines, his acting.
Yeah,
He's ready to go.
he's doing great.
Crazy.
He's doing a great job, as well as all the other middle schoolers.
Yeah, they're really stepping up to the plate, which is great.
Good kids.
I just like seeing them come out of their shell a little bit more. So
When
they're
they get
not so
confident
scared.
on there. It's
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
Mine would definitely be all the liberties we took in Frozen Night 2.
They're really good.
Because I thought it was really funny.
Night 2 was a mess.
It wasn't a mess.
No, it was a mess.
No. It was a mess.
A hot mess might be the best.
Did it
worked.
look good on
But
stage? For the
we
most
had
part,
fun.
you had fun, and
We had
that's
fun.
the point of doing these. But
Right.
as the director on the big platform doing sound, I'm freaking out a little bit. So that's
Crippling stress.
Especially
it's
because
okay.
nobody told each other what they were doing. So all of a sudden, Nick was cartwheeling, and you were
Carl was-
fighting Nick.
I was
and
screaming.
you were rolling around on the floor.
I was supposed to.
okay.
I was supposed to fight him.
Your screaming into the microphone gave me the heart attack on the soundboard of how do I not make this kill everyone in the audience?
Okay. Also, though, it was really short, so I didn't prolong it. Well, anyway.
Our consequences have actions.
Anyway,
Our actions have consequences.
I was like, did you mean to say that, or was that just like a little?
this can be great for the city of Jesup.
Everybody's gonna love this.
What is your favorite scene in the show?
Music Man.
Yeah.
Um,
No, the other one.
Oh, okay.
No, the other musical that we're doing. Stay tuned.
No.
I don't know if I have a famous scene, my favorite scene.
You're
sorry.
famous?
I could be.
Oh, okay.
But I think my favorite. I don't really have a favorite scene, but I have a favorite line of when he's in You Got Trouble, and he's like, "Mothers of River City, heed the warning before it's too late.
Don't
Watch for the telltale signs of corruption. When your son leaves the house, does he rebuckle his knickerbockers below the knee?" That's my favorite part.
That's your favorite line?
That's my favorite line.
Really?
Interesting.
Below
I would have
the knee.
never thought of that.
Mine is smite that devil and keep our young boys
I
pure.
think mine. I didn't really want to say it, but the cigarettes line
Oh,
with
they
the
were trying out BOs.
trying out Cububs, trying out tailor-mades like cigarette fiends.
I mean, it's in the show, so you could say
Yeah,
it.
and bragging all about how they're gonna cover up a telltale breath with sensen.
He can do it talking here, but he can't do it
Can't
when
get
he
on
sings.
stage.
One fine night.
Oh, favorite
Rag time.
Favorite scene. I don't know. I don't know if there's a specific favorite. I really enjoy when Savvy first comes on and just completely blows off Carter because it's hilarious.
It's funny.
But also, there's this little minute part, and Hannah Borland just goes, "I'm Ethel Toffelmeyer," and says it just like that, and stands super proud. And it cracks me up every time because it's nothing like she would ever do. And then she just super proud, "I'm Ethel Toffelmeyer." So it gets me good every time. It's funny.
It's funny.
My favorite scene is the piano lesson scene.
Oh, God.
That's my favorite too.
I just think it's funny.
I think it's so funny.
Little Brooklyn Pint
She does a
playing her
good job.
piano.
He does a
Doing
good job.
good. Doing good.
Yeah.
Her fake little piano.
I really enjoy any scene with me and Maddie Cooper because they're funny.
There's good chemistry between the two of you too for that role. Like
Yeah.
Maddie definitely could pull off a mom role for you, almost anything. Like, come on, it's just this good chemistry on stage. I feel like Maddie could play a good mom role a lot of places
play a good
though
mom
too.
role.
Like,
And this is her first show.
yeah, first time ever, senior.
Killing it.
Very
doing a
good.
great job.
Very good.
What character from the show are you most like and why?
Eulalie McKechnie.
That's the one.
Need I say more? No. That's the answer.
You're Eulalie McKechnie. That is dancing, right?
Oh, well. Dancing.
I've been putting a lot of research into Harold Hill. Like I've watched the musical a lot. I'm going to the museum tomorrow in Mason City. So I feel like I'm slowly becoming Harold Hill, and I'm kind of scared. Like I'm method acting. I'm going deep. I'm diving deep into
Do
this
not
role.
try to sell
Off the
instruments to little children in our school.
Why not?
That's my job. Don't take away my children.
I'm just promoting, you know?
Just promoting.
But then I have to teach
give you
them
money.
all the mistakes that you made because the think system doesn't actually work.
That's not true.
Kids practice
That's
your
what I'm using for my
instruments.
lines. That's what I'm using for my lines this year.
It's obvious.
Called out.
Anyway.
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's some
Winthrop.
days where
Winthrop.
I could. I do have problems speaking sometimes, and also I thought about some days. I'm like, I could be Mayor Shin some days, just oblivious, really loud. Like I feel like I could be Mayor Shin some days.
Slippier and a Mississippi sturgeon.
Davis Roth does a good job with that one as well.
He does a very good job.
And this is his first show having a role too.
Yeah.
He's been in the ensemble, the show before me, so that would have been Annie. Yes, but he's done a really good job with that. What role are you, Savvy?
I think I'm Marion, but only in like the first 5 acts.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I was gonna say talk about how awesome the new cast members are, but I feel like we've already covered that, like with Brady Glider and Allison Brown,
He's done great.
Maddie Cooper, the Casillas.
The Casillas boys are hilarious.
They are hilarious. Brooklyn Pint, Addison
Baldwin.
Wolf, Aylin Baldwin. Everybody's doing such a good job.
Yeah,
with-
but you've really seen from the beginning where they were really tentative and not knowing what to do to now they're taking liberties themselves and doing better at times than our older.
We were just
ensemble
saying
members.
we're the problem in this show.
This is true.
You're not.
The middle schoolers know your lines better than you sometimes.
Aylin Baldwin could be Harold Hill tomorrow and crush it.
The thing is,
We could just switch them out.
I can do 76 trombones completely memorized, perfect at my house. I come to school,
It's gone.
it's gone.
So I'm going to use the think system on you.
Sounds good. Just do it, please.
All right.
I need everything.
But
I
no,
can get.
our younger cast, I would say, are the MVP of this show. They've
they're killing
really filled out the roles well. They've done a great job.
Little messing around backstage, but it's all right.
We have that every year.
It's all right.
I'm aware.
I think I'm the problem there.
We got people stealing my hat all the time.
That happens every year too.
Oh, that did happen. Beauty and the Beast. I had that weird.
Yeah.
You guys tried to, what was that, the chicken for the Beauty?
Oh,
and the
yeah, we
Beast?
had a
Oh,
chicken.
the chicken.
Yeah, we should incorporate that.
That's not happening.
Nope.
There's no
That
I
chicken.
was
think
so
we could
good. The
incorporate it.
Kermit
Cheeto.
voices.
Oh,
Where's the chicken?
stop.
Sorry.
All right. That's all the questions I have. But remember to come see our production of The Music Man on November 11th and 12th at 7 p.m. We hope to see you there.
It's going to be good.
Please remember that the Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. It will be offering community programming starting in Jesup, Iowa, before expanding to neighboring communities. Programming will include a community speaker series that will showcase existing creatives who will reside in the community, as well as a pop-up series that will spotlight and partner with a local business to provide opportunities for community engagement. We have a special anniversary today, as this is the 1-year anniversary of the Steve Brown Arts Center. It was incorporated 1 year ago this month. John Peters was instrumental in helping us get incorporated. Donnie Weber helped us get our 501c3. And we have several board members from the community that are very active and involved. As I said, we are coming to you live from Cowork 591 Studios. A few announcements here. Friday, November 11th from 8 till 9, the community coffee to celebrate Veterans Day is open to the public. Monday, November 14th from 11:30 to 1:30 and 4:30 to 8, Rockin' 5K Barbecue food truck is here at Cowork 591. And then in town for the holidays and in need a place to work, Cowork 591 is running a week special for $20 to get you 24/7 access. As we close for today, remember that every day we have little victories. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm with producer Blake Tempus, and I'm Jim Gillespie. Have a great week.